Hello!
So,
Welcome to the Other Side Show, episode number 2. This week we hung out with Issa Isaacs, otherwise known as GlitterGirl, founder of Temple of Poi and the Fire Expo in San Francisco, one of the largest free fire shows in the world. Had a really good time filming this episode. It's a little long, so we're just going to jump right into it. Real quick, we're going to pop up a link right here over Pal's face. Check out the Loft Show with our friends Mikey and Noel. We were on there last week, hung out, had a really good time talking with them. So check them out. I think this week they have Marvin Ong on there, who's going to be a guest on our show, hopefully pretty soon. So yeah, check that out. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know what you think. Social media stuff's down in the description. Be well. Hello, welcome to the Other Side Show. Potter and Pal, we're here with Issa, better known perhaps by the name GlitterGirl.
You can see the glitter.
Issa, how's it going? Thank you so much for doing the show.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and yeah.
Where do you want me to start? I'm 44. I was born in New York. I'll be 44 when this comes out. I'm 43 now. I went to school for computer science. I played piano from the time I was 4 to 29. When I got out of college, I got a job in computers. I was doing some various things for several years, which suddenly, then the whole big boom, like when you all were 5, came out, Netscape was popular and stuff, and then suddenly the internet started booming, and I moved out to California where I thought, oh wow, this is the place to be for computers, and I had an awesome career. I loved my job. Then the company I worked for was owned by IBM, and then all the people sort of like jumped ship to the next like awesome opportunity started. This was when the beginning of the .com boom was happening, and I wanted to go too, but then what happened was because they all left, I was the senior person in the office, so it was great. And I was like, wow, this is great. So my career was booming, and then it just looked like there were more and more better opportunities out, and I could get a better job somewhere else. So I left and I started working for this other company that I was only at for 6 weeks because they fired me because I refused to lie to my customers. The owner of the company wanted me to tell the clients that the software was going to do something that it wasn't going to do for at least 3 revisions. They wanted to say that the software could do it then, and I was in charge of customer management. I was like, no, you have to know. I have to deal with that later. I'm not going to lie to them because you can't deliver a product. But what happened at that experience though, I met this guy who, Galen Abbott, who is one of the co-founders of the Sunset Community. And for anybody who lives in San Francisco, you may be aware the Sunset Community does these free parties that have been happening for like, I don't know, since 1992 or something, I want to say, or maybe 96, or like a long time. They've been doing these free parties that happen on Sunday afternoons, and they like were renegade style. Now they do them permitted, and they do these really awesome events. Nice. And I had never been to anything like this. I was like this super straight, I'm like, you definitely would never imagine it looking at my dreads with like the rhinestones in them and the glitter, but I was like this super straight-laced, like very normal person. I was like super shy. I was, I was 300 pounds at the age of 22, and so, I had lost a bunch of weight at this point, but like I was still like 230, 240 pounds. And I found the dance scene, and I was hooked like day one because I had been a musician from the time I was 4 until right around this period of time where I had gotten diagnosed with repetitive stress injury in my arm. So it's like tendonitis in my arm. So I like literally how I discovered it one day was I was fine, and then literally I could not hold a glass in my hand. It just like fell out of my hand. I was like, and I had no muscle control of my arm. It was one of the scariest experiences I've ever had because
that's insane.
You're telling your hand to squeeze and you can't, right? And I'm like, they're like, so they told me it would take 9 months to heal 1 inch of nerve damage in your arm, and then you have, I guess, 9 nerves on each arm that run from your neck down to your hand. It was like such a scary thing to have, like, a doctor say that to you, you know? Anyway, I had to give up piano. So I had this void in my life where I didn't have music anymore. Now the thing is, if you listen to my piano music, I mean, you can see it on SoundCloud under Poi Priestess. I have the one CD of all original compositions that I did. It's very like new agey, George Winston, super chill, you know. It's nothing like going to a rave or an underground dance party at all. It's nothing like that. So I went from like this really very staid, formal environment to like this, you know, the first one was Under the Richmond Bridge, right? It's super grungy, it's like a muddy day, and this is my introduction into like the underground community and burners and ravers, and I didn't know anything about it, and I was super shy, and I didn't know anybody, and I didn't know how to meet people, so I just surrendered into the music. So I'd be the first one on the dance floor, because that's all I knew how to do. I was like, okay, well, I mean, I didn't dance before that, but I just felt so driven by the beat, and I was like, oh, I have to do this, and I would just really get, I mean, and I wasn't high, I was like totally sober, I was a good girl, I just was really, I had my first ecstatic moment. I mean, the music for me empowered me to, I mean, I had ecstatic moments when I was playing piano, when I was creating music, but I had never, like, I was a disembodied individual, I was very intellectual, and I didn't have the experience of my body being taken over by flow. Yeah. And it was in that experience of dancing that I suddenly found a physical flow, and I found this expression of myself, and like people started coming up to me and they're like, wow, you're that girl that's always out there dancing. And so suddenly I started having these people around me. They weren't necessarily friends, but like I was learning how to socialize. I like really was complete social dork. I mean like a total social dork. I just did not have any friends. I mean, I was sort of raised in an environment where my parents are generally paranoid people. My dad had top secret clearance, so it was like just they're not the kind of people that were very open, and we had like a big dog, and so like designed to scare people, you know. It was like just a very closed environment, so I didn't know how to make friends. So suddenly I'm in this culture, and I'm now having this like schism between my work life and my personal life, while I'm also recovering from the fact that I had this horrible RSI. I'm going out to all these parties. I started wearing glitter, and that's how I got my name, because girls would go into the ladies' room and they would see me there, and I'd be putting glitter on. They'd be like, oh, can I have some? And then the next thing you know, I've been there like 40 minutes and I've been glittering a shit ton of girls, and they're walking out. And
everyone there.
Yeah, and then the girls would come in and they'd say, they'd be like, oh, are you the glitter girl? And so that's how it happened, because the girls were walking out. I was like, oh, go ask the glitter girl. And so that's how I got my name. And then I started wearing glitter to work. And that actually was the straw that broke the camel's back. They said to me, the guy that had hired me pulled me into his office, and he said, you're never going to get ahead in this company if you continue to wear glitter to work. And within 2 weeks I had been fired, despite the fact that I had just gotten this like huge $10,000 bonus. I mean, like, I was managing a department. I had built a department from the ground up. So I mean, I had just built this department from nothing, and I had created a whole concept. I had a department of 6 people. I get fired. I'm like, holy shit, what am I gonna do? You know? And I was like, I don't know, 32 years old. I had been working since I was like 16 years old. So I'm, you know, I was a good girl. I really believed you do your work, you do your time, you're gonna get a job, you get a high-paying job. I was making $165,000 a year. And I went from making $165,000 a year to $8,000 the next year. You cannot imagine that, like.
Probably dealt with a pretty big existential crisis. Or
oh my God!
Reality
Oh my God!
Disintegrating in front of you.
Totally, absolutely. I mean, every aspect of who I was called into question. I declared bankruptcy. I mean, I'm so glad it happened. I was so young, to be honest. I mean, I look at back now, and I'm like, I'm really grateful that I was in that period of my life, because I feel like it'd be much harder to start at 44. If you really had your midlife crisis at your midlife, I feel like you're not quite as energetic, and I feel like I was so young. It's like I had enough experience to really know enough to create a business, but I wasn't so tired from life and like jaded that I didn't have the energy to like persevere in the face of like one of the most difficult journeys I've ever had in my life. I mean, starting a business in an industry that doesn't exist. I created an industry. I mean, like I don't want to say like I did it alone, but I'm definitely an innovator in our field. I don't know anybody else who has been running a school. I mean, I know Fire Groove was doing classes around the time that I was, but they were also doing a lot of yoga classes, so it wasn't really strictly, you know, a fire dancing school. It was like an add-on to them. So,
so Issa runs the Temple of Poi, which is a fire dancing school in San Francisco that we're going to get into little bit more. So you were saying, you just got fired wearing glitter. And,
oh yeah. Well, so
concurrently
with that period of time, I was I had found also like a Burning Man community. So this guy that I worked with. So this is like a little bit before I got fired. This is the year before I got fired. A guy that I worked with named Gadget, who I'm incredibly grateful for, invited me to join his Burning Man community. So I connected with a community that was known as the Illuminati, the Naughty. We were a secret society of naughty people. We had a nipple dome, and this was this was back in 2000. We did the camp. And this was the year of body part, and we were camped at Sex and 10, so it was a very cool experience, and in the process of preparing for Burning Man, we'd have these meetings, and at one of these meetings it was like a birthday party for Aries, and there were 6 of us, and I'm an Aries, and I saw Prisna, who is the co-founder of Flow Toys now. I saw her there, and she had been spinning maybe like 6 months, but 6 months is an expert compared to somebody who's never seen this before.
Yeah.
And I coincidentally, like 4 months earlier, had gone with a friend of mine. We were at a Twisted Traveler sale at a warehouse in San Francisco, and there are these beanbag things that have these streamers on them with like a string hanging off of them, and he's like, oh, you should get these. And this is at a point in my life where I had disposable income, so like, what's $25 for this thing that I don't know what it is? He's like, oh, I'll teach you later. And he didn't know what it was. He'd seen it, but he knew it would be cool. And I got it, and I didn't know what it was, but then I actually saw Prisna using it. So it was Zuni Poi, and I saw Prisna at this party using it, and I was like, oh my god, I was so mesmerized by it. It was so amazing. And Prisna is one of the most, she's such a graceful human being in how she moves. It's so, I found her really just like beyond inspiring, like super mesmerizing just to see her. She's such an artist. She's like, oh no, I'm not that. I wasn't that. I'm not that. But it was that for me, and I was like, oh, I so want to do this. And then of course I was like, oh, can I please try? And she gives them to me, and it was like, and I was like, oh, okay, guess
Bruises everywhere.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I can't do this. I just didn't really think I could. And what ended up happening was I went home. I dug out my pair that I had, and then I would basically like do 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, because I had my corporate job. Like, this is before I wasn't quite wearing glitter to work yet. So this is right before that happened. And I started using it as rehabilitation for my RSI because my physical therapist told me that the motions of the poi, because like I started with corkscrew, that was the thing that I figured out on my own. There was no place to learn. That was the other problem. So it really was very, this is 2000, so the internet was not even really like, just the internet as we know it today is not what it was like back then at all.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a question I wanted to ask you when you were talking about that. Is I'm curious what it was like, because when I first saw someone spinning fire, I was at a camp out. Oh my gosh, these guys from Boston are spinning fire. This is amazing. And then I go back to DC and didn't know anybody, and what was that? So I looked up on the internet and found Home of Poi, and a bunch of tutorials were already up. This would be probably 2009 or so, and so I was really lucky, and I recognized being able to have access to a lot of tutorials and discussions that people were having. And so, what was that like? And how did you found Prisna? Was she in the area at the time?
She was. She was living actually with a friend of mine in the back of my friend's house, and I found out from her that there's a spin jam that happened at 150 Folsom way back then, and I went to the spin jam in an effort to learn, but it was not really like that. It was like, this is how it was. It was kind of hilarious. A really small space where everybody, like, 25, maybe 30 people or something were trying to get into the space, and then there was like a space in the space that was the actual spinning space, and then there were like chairs on the edge, and it would be sort of like, as soon as you tangled, somebody would take your spot. So it was like, and if you tangled a lot and you couldn't untangle fast, somebody would take your spot.
It's kind of like Foursquare, where it rotates.
Oh, I don't know what that is. But yeah, I guess so. Yeah, kind of like that, but it's sort of like if you kept tangling, it was a very frustrating environment. And then I can recall asking people how to do the weave, and this is how it went. It was, well, so then all you do is, and they would never actually say any more than they would just move their arms, and they would keep doing the move, but they weren't distinguishing any aspect of the actual experience. You take your right hand, you do 2 spins on the, or you take your left hand, do 2 spins on the right side, 1 over, 1 under, bring it back to its own side, and then repeat. I mean, like, no ability to linguistically distinguish the whole experience at all. So then I saw the I mean, it was hilarious to me. The training tape from Home of Poi that they have, that I guess they send when you get your fire poi or something, and like as an so I had done instruction as in my computer job, and I did courseware development, and I wrote manuals, and so I know about teaching, and I had done teaching before, and I understand how you build a curriculum and how you actually move forward. But I mean, this woman was teaching, and it was on this video where she's in a park, so the backdrop is this green stuff, and you can't see her poi as they're even moving, and there's no like good videography, you know, things are standard definition then. I mean, but this is what you had. And then there was that that book, the poi spinning book by there's a book, Mikhail something. I'm pretty sure.
It's like a rectangular
yes,
book.
Yeah, with the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I didn't see that until much years later. So mostly, my learning went something like whack whack. Oh, that worked. Whack whack. Oh, that worked. Whack whack. Then I feel like people. Oh, do you want to say?
Yeah,
You want to say? Yeah.
That is an awesome book.
It is. I mean, although there's terms that are kind of out of date now, and people would say are probably not accurate, but it is effective. But I also think the written word is not as effective as video, now that we have video. Now that there is YouTube.
Now that there's YouTube, yeah.
Yeah. It's very different. I mean, then the whole Circle of Lights thing happened. That was, I feel like it was very different back then, because it was like, oh my god, now we're going to get to see some video, because you could just pick up your phone now and see a video, whereas back then, not everybody even had a cell phone, people still had landlines. I know.
Beepers.
Not everybody even had an email back then, I feel like. Yeah. It was a very different world, technologically speaking. Right. So the learning process for me was much more like boop, 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 trial and error. But then I had a 4-car head-on collision, and I had to stop for several weeks, and then I ended up taking like a 4-month hiatus, and then after I got fired, I just started doing it more because I had more time. So I was DJing, and I was doing that, and I was doing art installations, and then, fast forward a year of doing that, and I'm on the beach. I have had like 3 people in the last 2 weeks ask me, because people see me do it. I had my first breakthrough at Burning Man in 2001, like where I think what I bring to Poi is not necessarily about technique. I think it's about style and expression, and it's about being able to like catch the flow in a dance. And I think that like I had my first peak experience with those Poi that I was telling you about. So they're on each, it's just a lanyard, so they're super lightweight. Like because I had started with glow sticks. Because we didn't have LED day back then. Yeah. It's not that long ago, but we really we didn't. And it was 5 photon lights, which was a single LED each on just like a lanyard, and so they spun really, really fast. And I was out in the desert at my camp, which was a lot of psytrance music, which is not slow, so it was good. And this is why I got into polyrhythmic movement, because the whole. Oh, I can rest one arm. Oh, I can rest the other arm. Being able to speed up one and slow down the other. Anyway, where was I? So we're in the desert.
Mm-hmm. Desert, big breakthrough.
Oh yeah, I had this huge breakthrough, and then people started seeing me out at these parties. I started performing after that. I wasn't really getting paid, but I was out at parties, and people wanted me to go to parties because I brought a thing. People wanted to see. It was entertainment. Sure. Mm-hmm. And then this girl Denise asked me on the beach. She's like, okay, do you know where I can learn? And finally, after the 4th person asked me, I said, I teach. Because I had showed people things, but I was just like, yeah, I'm going to do this. So I went to Rhythm and Motion, which now is bought by Elise, and I said, hey, I want to use your studio. I have a course proposal. And they said, oh, well, write us a, description and all that. So I wrote it, and they came back to me, they're like, great, we'd love to do it. We'll take 50%. I said, over my dead body, no way. I was not going to let them take my money. And it was that moment where the entrepreneur in me, because I had my first business as a consultant when I was 16 years old. I worked for my piano instructor. And I was like, no, I can totally do this. So I started teaching in the park, and people paid me money. I was charging like a ridiculous amount of money. I was charging $8 a lesson. It was not very much. And then I was living in a warehouse at the time where I could fit 2 students. So I would have 2 students at a time, where I would do a 12-week package for $96 or something like that, you know, which is 12 80-minute sessions. It's really, really cheap.
Yeah.
Ridiculously cheap.
I mean, it was just ridiculously cheap. And I met this guy who was a life coach, and he's like, you were totally teaching a valuable service here. You really are undervaluing yourself. He like convinced me that I really should take myself seriously as a businesswoman. He's like, you have a brilliant idea. I know you know this. Don't let them get you down. Like, because people laughed at me. They're like, you can, I mean, literally laughed in my face and said, one of my friends, like, he literally belly laughed at me. He's like, you're gonna what? You did that. I was blown away by it. Yeah, and another one of my friends, she and I still laugh about it. She said, who's going to pay for poi lessons? And it was actually in the face of those questions that it inspired me to become a business person. Like, okay, who is going to pay for poi lessons? And what had happened was that summer, 11 of my girlfriends and I had all paid for belly dancing lessons. I'm like, well, how is this any different? Why wouldn't people do it? I mean, just because nobody else is doing it yet doesn't mean it can't be done. And I just said, well, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And I did. And after, you know, I got my first clients through Craigslist. Craigslist was very different then, too. They didn't have the same, you know, limitations that they do now.
Yeah, all the parameters.
Yeah. So I got clients through Craigslist. Then my friends were like, I mean, I'm in a Burning Man community. My burner friends knew other people who were interested, and they told a friend, and they told a friend, and they told a friend. So I started in February with my first class. My first paid class was in April. By the time I got back from Burning Man, I got 43 contacts at Burning Man from people who, like that fall, 43 people signed up for classes. I mean, it was super crazy. Yeah. It was.
Was it like all at once, or was it over, like, you said it over the course of a couple months?
Yeah, it was 43 new students that started in like September and October. So they all finished before January, basically.
Nice.
Yeah, and then it just started growing from there. And then, I mean, then it was about the internet, and then it was about getting a good website. And then the next big step for me was the moment where I decided, okay, people would say they were going to show up, but people are flakes, man. It's crazy. I just couldn't believe how many people just didn't show up, and the attrition was ridiculous. So I was having 40% attrition, and then I decided, screw this. I'm going to start putting a pay button on my website so people can sign up right then and there. And you know what? I have had, my attrition rate now is so not even, I mean, maybe like 1 in 15 people maybe doesn't show up. I mean, it was 25% of the people before were not showing up for class. And even if they don't show up, I still get the money from the deposit for their spot. And it's really hard because I'm working with people who are friends. It's really hard to be like, hey, this is a business, because people are like, well, you know. I'm like, well, don't go to a school if you want. Well, you know, I have a school. I have a curriculum. I have classes. If you're not in the spot, I can have somebody else in the spot, so don't dick me around. I'm not going to dick you around. So I started taking it really seriously. And unfortunately, I feel like it created sort of a schism with other people in the community who didn't agree with that mentality, which is sort of when the SF Weekly article came out, there was a discussion on Home of Poi about my capitalist mentality. I mean, and I am a capitalist. I'm a conscious capitalist. I believe in educated consumerism. I believe in putting your money in what you believe in. I believe in delivering a high quality service, and I believe that what I'm doing for people is now empowering them to do something that they wouldn't, couldn't, or don't want to do on their own, or some combination of all of those, and I'm enabling them in a positive way to change themselves and change their lives. I mean, why is that not worth money? That's what I have to say to people who say that to me. And
like you said, people pay to get instructions and all sorts of things. Why would this why should this art be any different than any others?
I mean, and people say, oh yeah, I mean, that was actually what happened for me in the beginning too. We didn't have the language back then. People didn't know how to linguistically discuss what it is that we're doing particularly at all. So people would meet with their friends, and their friends would try and teach them, but they couldn't learn from their friends. And because I had a background in engineering, and because I had a background in teaching, I was really able to discern what was going on and speak it in a way that people could comprehend, so that they were able to actually understand what was going on much more quickly and effectively. You know, it helps to be able to say it in that way, that's useful for them. So
yeah, if you can articulate, they'll understand.
Yeah. It's helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, all you do is that not always helpful.
Yeah, not so much.
I mean, for visual learners, it's useful. But that's why the early adopters are early adopters, because they didn't need the instruction. They could just model it, see monkey do, rather than explain linguistically. So yeah.
So when you were founding the school, you know, it sounds kind of like it was a bit of a reactionary thing in a way, but now, you know, knowing you personally, I know that you do have a greater vision behind it now. So, can you talk about when how the vision for it evolved, maybe sort of the timeline?
Sure, yeah.
Of that?
I would say, I mean, I think it was a combination of things that happened for me. I mean,
and when was the school established?
The school was established here in San Francisco, right here in the... Well, I mean, this is the first room that I had ongoingly for the school, but it was established in a warehouse down on Napoleon Street.
And when again?
Oh, February of 2002. So I met Nick at Burning Man 2004.
Nick Woolsey?
Yes, Nick Woolsey. And I would say that my experience with Nick, coupled with what happened with the article in the SF Weekly and the whole conversation that happened on Home of Poi, had me say, okay, I'm going to have style and I'm going to have technique. And I think from that point on, I really took my own practice in a different way, and I realized there was an additional market for teaching students additional material beyond the beginner stuff. And I went from, okay, I'm going to do this to sustain myself, to, okay, why am I really doing this? And coming to a place of actual deep personal empowerment for other people, and realizing that for me this had been such a transformative thing that I wanted to gift other people the opportunity, especially people, I mean, if you told me when I was like either of your ages, actually, that I would be doing this now, I would probably have laughed at you. I was fat, disembodied, and I did not have facility with myself. I did not know how to use me, the instrument of me. And I feel like the discipline, the training, the awareness, all of these things that I've gotten were such a powerful gift for me. I mean, somewhere in there, I felt the need to give that to other people too, and help them find it in themselves, this place where they could become something more than they thought they were capable of being. Because my first thought was, I could never do that. Like, after I was like, oh, I can't do that. And I mean, it was like working through my own process of, oh yes, I can. It just takes a commitment and an ongoing dedication and a perseverance and a willingness to step up again and come to the mat and be humble and be prostrate to the practice of learning and living and giving yourself that gift and becoming through that process. And I wanted to help other people be empowered in that way that I was. And I don't know, it just became more and more passionate, and the more I did it, I mean, now it's totally different for me, because, I mean, I would say probably the last, 6 months, maybe 5 months, I would say at least once a week, I get at least one thank you letter from somebody in the community for, thank you for who you are, thank you for what you do, or thank you for inspiring me, or thank you for blah, 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 blah. I mean, so now it's like I get the very direct feedback of knowing I really am having an impact on other people, but like, the impact of that, I mean, it's ironic to me because it makes me feel like I need to do more. Because it's like, oh, wow, I really am reaching people. Oh my God.
It's working.
It's working. I need to do more. I need to do more. So it's like you'd think it would make me relax, like, oh, okay, I did it. But it doesn't feel that way. It makes me feel like, oh, yes, this revolution of experience can happen for people. More people can experience this flow state thing. More people can be personally empowered. And I feel like, I mean, when I was a child, I went to Catholic school, like, religious instructions after school, and I went and I got confirmed, and I did the whole thing, and my name, Isa, actually, I changed my name in the year that I started the school. And Isa actually means Jesus, or the one. It means Jesus in Farsi, and it means the one in Tagalog. And I had a period of time where I was really into, I don't know, I went to this Catholic youth group, and what I was searching for, I think, was the wisdom that I experienced Jesus having. I experienced him as, maybe it's just my own story. Like you read what the Bible says about a guy. To me, anybody who has the compassion of self to be willing to turn the other cheek to someone else, that particular aspect of his story is, to me, that's like, wow, that what kind of generousness of soul do you have? Because I imagine, what do you have to be like in order to, what's your internal experience need to be in order for you to be willing? You get slapped and you say, here, let me offer you this other way that you can heal yourself. That's how I imagine he must have been. So I have been drawn to that, and I felt like through all of the times that I went to church, I explored various religious paths for myself. I practiced Wiccanism for a while, and I felt this whole sense of, okay, what is this trying to get at? What is this trying to be? And I think that ultimately, that moment when I went to that sunset party and I surrendered to the music and I was truly in the now, in that moment, and in that ecstatic experience of the dance and of the music and the oneness, and then all of the subsequent experiences that I've had. For me, dance and poi and I would say my other props, but poi and dance are the two ways that I can most easily and quickly access that state of union. I feel like it is that universal consciousness. I feel like it is that state of oneness, and I feel like that is what all these religions that I feel like we're, culturally we're cramming down our kids' throats. I feel like we're ready. We're ready for a shift. We're ready to be not in this place of, oh, I want to worship you. I think we're ready to be in this place of, oh, I want to worship with you. Co-union together, where we're all co-creating the evolution of consciousness that we're becoming. And I feel like this is a way that as individuals we can all come into our own highest power, our own deepest potential, and from that place we can bring our highest selves to the rest of the world. And I feel like if people were more present to how they can on an individual level become through their practice. Anything that you choose. It doesn't need to be poi. It could be snowboarding. It could be typing. It could be, I can say in retrospect that I did experience altered states and flow state through piano, but I would not have identified it that way at the time. I didn't have the vocabulary to speak it, and I didn't have the understanding of what was going on. I think drawing people into that place so that they are encouraged to go there and encouraged to move that way so that they can have a new state of awareness, and they can bring that to other people, and then they can come to other people from that place of peace. I think that's what religion's trying to get at, but I think it's just missing the mark, miserably. And I personally want to see a shift in spiritual consciousness, and I believe that this is one way that can happen. I really do, because I think that what it takes as an individual to come back to the mat in the face of your own humility, oh God, it's going to whack me in the face again today. Seriously, and you guys with the nut whacking, I swear, that's a whole other thing. You're braver than I am.
It's a hard job, but somebody has to do it.
Apparently.
I have seen a lot of my friends don't spin poi anymore for that reason. It's a hard thing to rise above.
They can pass the 2-week curve. Up from there.
I tell students to get a cup if they're worried about it. Really, yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't had one of those incidents in a while, so I was getting bored. So I've started playing with 3-poi now, so I'm back. There's that anxiety again now.
Surprise! 2-part episode! We decided to split it up this week. We're going to be releasing the other part of this episode over the course of the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. We had some technical difficulties trying to get it all as one video on YouTube, and we had some problems formatting and the editing software, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, second half of the episode is going to be awesome. We're going to be talking about the Fire Expo. We're going to be talking more about Temple of Poi. more about the business of fire spinning, a whole bunch of different things. So yeah, stay tuned and check us out this weekend. And we'll also be releasing another episode next Thursday, as per usual, or well, trying to be as per usual. Yeah.
Yeah. In the meantime, send us emails at anothersideshow@gmail.com, and we're on Twitter at othersideshow. And yeah, see you next week.
Peace.